Hi, my name's Chris Candy, and this is the Never Not Run podcast. Or no.
Or do the NNR for.
This is the Never Not Run podcast. I'm your host, Chris Candy.
And I'm Mark Nieto.
Okay.
All right, episode 12. We are back.
It's episode
Never
12
Not Run
already?
Pod.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you for everybody that came out last week to the Joggy Run. Thank you to Ty for co-hosting that with us and for hooking everybody up with some nice CBD goods. It was cool to be out in public and meet people through running. So,
Yeah.
And it was a perfect day for it too. Really beautiful evening out in Griffith Park.
Yeah, I was talking to Ty about it last week, and she seems to want to do more of those. So, incorporated into our yearly race schedule, it seems like we're going to be doing some more NNR Joggy Run Club meetups over the summer. So look for that information on the Insta. And if you ordered a hat from us in the last couple of days, they're on their way. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, and there's going to be some new stuff coming out soon, right? I think you mentioned this before, but...
Yeah, we got some shirts coming out, some tech gear coming out for people to run in, so we're excited to get that out in the world. And again, thank you to everyone who's kind of been getting into the pod and also just, interacting on the Instagram page. Like Mark and I really kind of started this as a total labor of love for running, and it's just such a cool thing to see grow. Even, it's just really, really nice. So thank you.
Well, today, Chris and I, if you haven't seen from Instagram, Chris and I did the Vacation Races Half-Marathon. So today we're going to be recapping that, sharing some stories from the race and also from after the race. And mainly just kind of... We're
going to be talking about the great outdoors.
Yeah. Yeah. The amazing time we had up in Yosemite. So... again, thank you for everybody that's been listening. Anything you want to add, Chris, before we get into the episode?
Just sit back, crack open your favorite gel, and turn up the volume, because this is episode 12 of the Never Not Run Pod. My legs are dead. They're so... tasty. They're so toasted. Welcome back to the Never Not Run podcast. I'm Chris Candy.
And I'm Mark Nieto.
And we're not interviewing anyone today. We're just here we're wrapping out a little bit. We've got a little bit of audio to play, but this is really just going to be our race day recap from the Yosemite Half-Marathon that we ran last weekend. Yeah,
it was a great weekend for the both of us, and our girlfriends spent the weekend up near Yosemite. Took Chris and his girlfriend into Yosemite for the very first time.
Dude, that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Yosemite is one of my favorite places in the world. So it's really nice whenever I get to share that with people, and especially people that haven't been before. So what did you guys think of it?
Dude, it was incredible, man. I mean, we had a really pretty easy drive up. It's about 4.5 hours to 5 hours outside of Los Angeles to get up into the Yosemite area. And when you get into the kind of vicinity, it was about another hour to get into the park. But we just, Ryan and I had both never been there, so we were both kind of taken aback by just how unbelievably gorgeous Yosemite is. The race, which is the Vacation Races Yosemite Half-Marathon, is not really in Yosemite Park. Would it be fair to say that, Mark? Yeah.
Right. It's technically in, I think, the Sierra National Forest. So, and I think that's common throughout the vacation races, right? They bill them as being these national park races, whether it's Zion or Glacier National Park, but really you're technically right outside the park, because I don't think the United States government is letting anybody do any private companies run events or host events inside the national parks.
Right. This company does a lot of big races. Like Mark said, they do Zion. It seems like they do a couple ultras. I kind of came to know them because they did the Joshua Tree Half-Marathon, which also doesn't take place in Joshua Tree National Park. It takes place in 29 Palms. But they still do a really good job, I think. You know, they really seem to have all their bases covered. I think this is a great race for people who are looking to maybe do their first half marathon or their first race if they don't want to do like a major city race. The price isn't that expensive. I think it was like maybe around a little over $100, but I would say it's worth it. You know, they definitely kind of take care of you all the way from the beginning to the end.
I think it's good for people that are kind of dabbling in trail running too, because a lot of it is on fire roads, but there's a few sections where it kind of gets into, I guess, kind of impacted or dirt. So a little bit of rubble, a little bit of rocks, but for the most part, it's a pretty easy downhill course. So I think it's definitely manageable for people of all kind of skill levels.
Right. Yeah. I think the exact same thing. It was, for me, I've run trails for sure, but, I wouldn't consider myself like a big time trail runner. And I was kind of running into this off of my like current fitness level and, was able to complete it. Still the challenge. They kind of bill this one as like an all downhill run. You do have about 560 feet of climb, which isn't that bad at all. It's just, it isn't, to someone listening to this who's never, done this race or is considering doing this, it's not just straight downhill. There is definitely some flat and some uphill. But more or less you get some really beautiful downhills that you can just kind of like unload. They really should call this race the Bass Lake half, because you end up finishing at Bass Lake, and I just feel like that's like the best way to bill it, because you're nowhere near Yosemite. You kind of get the essence of Yosemite, but like Mark said, you probably couldn't get a organized race going on inside of there.
And Bass Lake on its own is beautiful. I mean, there's the Bass Lake Triathlon. It's a really beautiful place to visit. There's a resort there. I mean, I guess Vacation Races has their business model down, but I mean, I don't think that billing it as a Bass Lake race would discourage people from wanting to jump in and partake in the race.
So let's see here. How do we want to do this episode? I think maybe the best way to do it is we have a little bit of audio we can play right now that is from us kind of starting, and they pick you up in these like giant, mobile touring, buses, and they kind of shuttle you to the top of this big mountain. So you want to play this clip? Yeah,
let's hear it.
Okay, we're on the bus going to the starting point of the Yosemite Half. Here with, we're here.
Yeah, I'm trying to power down this cola flavored goo. Like I'm trying to time it 45 minutes before the race, but I'm nearing the end of this. I bought a whole box of them, so I'm nearing the end. So as you can imagine, I'm pretty sick of cola flavored goo.
I have a cola flavored goo left over from the Death Valley race that you gave me, and I was so disgusted by the flavor that I haven't had it. But it is an emergency flavor goo if I need it. What was that guy? Remember the LA Marathon guy? This is a
6 goo race.
This is a 4. All right, we're broadcasting live from the bus on the way to the top of our Yosemite Half. Never Not Run pod.
What were you feeling when we were kind of like heading up there? Were you excited? I mean, what was your kind of race day plan, Mark? What were you planning on accomplishing? I know you got some big runs coming up pretty soon, but how did this factor into all of that?
Well, I think that compared to other races I've done, we have this running podcast, obviously, but I still feel relatively inexperienced when it comes to racing. And this was one of the first races where I really felt like I had some goals that I had set out. And in the past, I'd always just said the main goal was always just to finish, right? So
right.
Even, from doing the first LA Marathon or doing Death Valley, number one goal is always to finish. And so I think with this one, I felt really confident going into it. And so I set out some goals. I tried to keep myself to a certain pace. and I was just feeling really good and confident going into it. So going up in the buses, I mean, again, it reminded me a lot of the Death Valley Marathon, where you're in these giant, what did you call them? Like, what did you say the buses reminded you of?
Well, they reminded me of like when I was in high school. We had some we were a pretty badass marching band. And so they got us these like pretty fancy like tour coaches. They're like a Greyhound bus. They pick you up in a really nice Greyhound. You know, and it's funny because like for me, you know, I haven't been on one of those in a long time. And all of a sudden you're like, you know, in this like bus with like a bunch of runners going up top of the mountain. And man, I have to say, and Mark can attest like how uncomfortable I was because, you know, COVID's still cracking, people coughing, you know, I didn't have my mask on. I'm like, oh man, like, and you know, let me just say like, word of warning, if you have any kind of cough or anything, you don't want to like talk to people about it or people give you like a weird look, just wear a freaking mask. You know what I mean? If you're going to just be up there coughing, just for the peace of mind of all the people on the bus or in the enclosed area, that's just my PSA. My word of wisdom. I don't know. Maybe I'm a wimp. Maybe I'm melting here, but you know what I'm talking about? It was definitely making my pregame a little more nervous and, you know, got me thinking about something I shouldn't have been thinking about for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I guess if you're trying to focus, get yourself mentally prepared, it's not the best feeling to, feel like somebody's coughing over your shoulder or something like that. I think that, you know, I did bring my mask on, so I've been trying to be conscious of that. But yeah, we, you know, just like Death Valley, we took this bus and it felt like it just kept going and going and going up the mountain. And we started, I think the town of Oakhurst where we got picked up is right around 3,000 feet. And so the starting line was actually at 5,000. So we were on this bus for a while going through these,
it was beautiful,
I guess, fire roads. Yeah. I mean, just beautiful, like dry. I mean, it was really bizarre at certain points to be in such a big vehicle going up, traversing some of these really scary mountain roads.
That was a little sketch. Like the back tire would kind of skid out a little bit. And
oh yeah. I mean, I don't know how they were managing the traffic for that, because I don't think we saw any buses coming down, but when we got to the top, there was I think 3,000 people signed up for this race. So you know, the kind of logistics of getting that all many people up to the top of this mountain. Yeah. And they really drop you off in the middle of nowhere. I mean, they put some porta potties there, and they had some coolers of like hot chocolate. Yeah.
The hot chocolate and the hot coffee. And you know, they had stuff ready. I was kind of like, compared to, you know, Enviro Sports, where he just had like a couple, you know, things of trail mix and a few Cheez-Its and a Red Vine here and there. This was like, maybe I would say like Holiday Inn complimentary buffet status, hospitality for a race.
Yeah, as opposed to like gas station refreshments. But yeah, this actually had
free samples from,
was it Honey Stinger? Yeah. Honey Stinger sponsored. So that, you know, they had some of the Honey Stinger nutrition. There were some electrolyte drinks and also, of course, water.
I think it was Gnarly energy drink. I remember seeing that plastered like everywhere. Gnarly, GNARLY.
Yeah.
But that's, again, to my point. Like, if you're new to it or you're wanting to do like a fun race, this is definitely one to do. It's all taken care of. It's worth your price of entry for sure. You know, you get to the top of this place and they just got like, you know, the jam box going. They're playing like some remix of you know, the Rocky theme song under like a techno beat or something like that. You know,
well, that was something we talked about on the trip at one point too. Is that you and I, we really need to start billing ourselves as the race DJs. Like, who out there is a race organizer that can get us, I don't know, a DJ gig at the finish line, maybe, or maybe even at the starting line.
We would be so good if you like hire NNR as your, you know, DJs and your MCs for your race. We will do so good. You know, Mark and I are both trained college radio DJs. We've both got easily more than like, 50 weddings under our belts together collectively. We know how to keep a party going. And I'll tell you one thing, you're not going to be hearing like a Rocky remix at the beginning of the race. I'll tell you that. All right. We're going to have Final Countdown. We're going to have some big bangers, some Van Halen, Drake, Just Hold On, We're Going Home. We're going to get you moving and grooving.
I don't think I've downloaded a new song in 10 years. So, that's where my music DJ catalog cuts off at. So if you want some bangers from like 2009, then we got you covered. So we're up there, and then we start the race more or less, and that actually I really appreciated from like a psychological standpoint. You can kind of get like a little like psych yourself out when you're about to start a race with a bunch of people. There's always this like unnecessary anxiety that can kind of come over you at the beginning of a marathon or the beginning of a race, and it was kind of fun just getting to the top of this one, and the gate was there, and they were just like, it was kind of like a water slide almost. They were like, all right, go ahead. They were just kind of sending you down whenever you wanted to leave. It was very unceremonial in a way, but in a way that I appreciate. Yeah, where you just kind of go. I mean, there was no, aside from the music, there wasn't any big kind of hoopla. It was, it was a chip timed event. So it really just, your timer started as soon as you crossed the starting line. So yeah, we hung out there for a little bit, did some warm up, some stretching, and then it was just kind of like, all right, I'll see you at the bottom of the mountain.
Exactly. And I had a great time. I can speak to my race. It was 13.1 miles. Majority of it was all downhill. I didn't train really at all for this. I'd kind of been logging in very low mileage weeks as of late. I've basically been doing strength training and a lot of like leg days. So on average, I've been getting about 9 to 12 miles a week, which is really low for me. So I was a bit nervous to just go out and do a 13. But again, no problem. It was there. I felt that, I had no pre-plan. So that was like kind of a testament to me that I kind of had the fitness kind of ingrained in me, and I was able to basically like, one thing I think I excel at as a runner, and I have to get better at as a runner though, is that I can kind of like tell how much energy I'm expending at one time, and I can really like take that and make it go a whole race. And I feel like, there's one thing I want to talk about in regards to just racing in general for me, but I felt like I kept a really nice pace the majority of the time for a guy like me. And, I was in the 10s and just got down to the bottom of this hill. Had like one bathroom break, but I was just rocking the honey stingers, which I normally don't do. And I really didn't have any issues, like structurally. Knees held up good, a little bit of foot stuff. I don't run in socks for anyone listening. So I had like pebbles kind of like rolling on my big toes, and that kind of sucked. But the thing that's interesting for me, and we talk about it after Mark talks about his experience, is like, for whatever fucking reason, the last like 2 miles, when I'm coming psychologically to a place of like finishing something, I get really slow. That whatever that energy is that's keeping me going at mile 8, like just cuts in half when I get down to like, mile 10, 11. For this, it was like 10, 11, 12 were really, really tough for me. And then I was able to kind of like get to that like Goggins pain cave level from 12 to 13 and finish. But I just had a really great time. And again, like it was just beautiful. A lot of really awesome things to see along the race. What about for you, Mark? You kind of bolted off on me really quickly, and it showed because you placed really well in this race.
Going into it, I kind of had a game plan somewhat. Well, I actually was curious too I wanted to ask you about the vest. How did the vest work out for you?
It was fine. I don't really want to, I'm in this place in my life right now where I want to use what I have. And, but I really don't want to, I don't like the vest, I really don't like it. I want to get one of those like David Goggins Badwater Camelback with the like weird, water bottle that's kind of sitting at like a, odd angle. I'd rather go for one of those. And the vest is fun in theory, but like I just, I feel like it's, it adds unnecessary weight in an odd part of your body, especially when it's on the front. I've got a Patagonia kind of double barrel, nipple system going on here, and it's not my favorite.
Yeah, because that was something that I was wondering. I was a little nervous about going into my race. I think I have this Innovate vest that I really love, and it has a unique system, I guess, where the bottles, the soft flasks, are kind of on the side, like basically under the armpits, and then they have these tubes that come up. So it does feel like you're sucking from a teat or something, but I think it works a little better than like the Solomon style flasks in the front. But yeah, for this race, I decided to go without a vest, and I was nervous because I didn't know how I would feel, in terms of like staying hydrated and nutrition and all that. I just ended up taking 3 gels with me in my shorts, and then a soft cup, because they were doing, this was a cupless race. I think most races nowadays are going cupless. I think
so. Yeah.
Yeah, they gave out Nathan soft cups to all the runners, and so I was carrying that with me, and just kind of, I guess, knew from my training that what I was trying to feel out how I would kind of do in the morning. I was checking the weather. I was like, okay, it's not going to be that hot. I can probably get away with just stopping at the planned aid stations, and it went pretty well. I mean, I had a gel when we were on the way up on the bus, and then was trying to stick to like every 30 minutes or so. I would just down another gel, and then just stop at every aid station for some water.
Yeah.
And that all seemed to work out really well for me until the like mile 10, I cramped up really badly on my left calf, like I mentioned before. And so, I guess I'm curious if any of the listeners have any advice on what that might be. I think, I tried the Tony Cavallero method, where the night before downed a quart of electrolyte, basically, what is it? Like a Pedialyte. It's like the Mexican Pedialyte. Yeah. So I had one of those, and then one in the morning, and then I had a couple salt pills. I think I had 2 salt pills the night before, and then 2 more in the morning. So I thought that would be fine and like prevent some cramping. So I don't know, maybe there was still some salt stuff that I need to figure out, or maybe it was just, my calves just weren't used to doing that downhill at that speed. But, I was really, my goal was to shoot for 8-minute pace, which, for me feels pretty fast. And I was, I think for when I look back at the race, like at the stats, I was doing like high 6s on some of the miles.
Wow.
So yeah, like just like cracking right under 7. And then at mile 10, the cramp really slowed me down. And that was kind of when you get around Bass Lake and it starts to flatten out a little bit, but there are these like little hills that you have to do like around the neighborhood, around the resort. And so those were just killing me, and I was doing everything I could to just kind of keep my cadence up, and I think I ended up going down to more like a 9-minute pace. But in the end, I was really happy because my overall pace was 7:55, I think, officially. So it felt good that I was, that I hit my goal. And I think just in terms of the race, it just felt it felt like a win for me. And it also felt good. Again, we started super late, I think, in comparison.
Yeah, the race had been going on for 2 hours, I think, and by the time we got up there.
Yeah, so there had been a bunch of runners that were already, I feel like all the fast people like started right at the beginning. They woke up really early. And so by the time we started, I mean, it felt I felt awesome just passing people, you know, like I felt super fast, even though I probably wasn't in the scheme of things. But I think by that point, it was more of the kind of easy runners is our new kind of term that we've coined, I guess.
Easy runners, yeah.
So it did feel good to just kind of, you know, be passing some people. I felt like I was able to pick up the pace, hold on to the pace for a while. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think I felt really good. I want to try to, for the next race, it's a longer one, so I don't think I'm going to be pushing myself as fast. I think I'm going to be way, way more conservative. I think there's probably going to be way more climbing involved too. So I think I'm going to go back to just, you know, my normal goals of finishing the race and surviving and not hurting myself too badly. But it did feel good to, like, you know, be in that position, be in a race where you're like, okay, I'm prepared. I'm gonna go all out, and it felt good coming home, bringing it in.
Yeah, I have to say it was a really fun race. I'll definitely be back. I love the area. I really enjoyed the race itself. Like I said, I didn't really feel like I at the time needed to really train for it. I'm obviously sure I could have been faster, but I was just looking to complete and compete. It was great. I really, really enjoyed myself. The other treat for me was, like, I had no idea, but like Ryan and I got up there and the bib pickup was at Bass Lake and we were there, and Mark had kind of told me a few things that, like, you know, my dad was the actor John Candy, and for those who don't know, and he'd filmed the movie Great Outdoors up there, and it was on Bass Lake. And so I kind of like gone into the zone to pick up the bibs, and I'm like, I have been here before. And a few text messages to some family members, and then, you know, you see like one or two Great Outdoors posters. You start putting two and two together, and yeah, they filmed a good majority of the film up on Bass Lake. So for me, I had this kind of like double feeling of like finishing the race, and also just kind of like finishing something that was in a zone where my dad had worked, and you know, running for me is very personal, and I've definitely thought a lot about him on runs, and you know, I think it was just a really cool experience for me on a personal level to kind of have that race under my belt and finish in a place where he had finished a big project of production. So that just was a very cool, you know, thing for me. And actually, I have a little bit of audio, and I kind of, you know, I felt like I was getting a bit emotional, but you know, this is just kind of what I was feeling. This is my post-show runner's high of the Yosemite Half, and we'll play it now. Well, Mark and I just finished. That was harder than I thought it was going to be, but it was fucking rad too at the same time. We're at Bass Lake. Pretty sure my dad filmed the movie here, Great Outdoors, so it's a total trip for me to be here running around it. And we finished the damn thing. We did a great job. It was a trip, man. Yeah, man. 13.1 in the bag. Oh, you can hear the waterworks just about to come. No, it was nice. It was a really it was a great race, and it was cool to have you there. Side note too, another thing that just really got the waterworks going. One of my favorite Tears for Fears songs ever, Break It Down, was playing as I finished. And it was like during one of my favorite parts of the song. So there was just like all kinds of cosmic, awesome, energetic things going on for me at the end of that race. So you're going to get, you know, a 2 Hoka review from me because I really loved it. And and a few on, and 2 Hokas and 4 on runnings.
Yeah, I should maybe apologize, because I know that when I came up to you at the end, I was filming you coming in to the finish and just immediately went up to you. And I feel like it was I probably came up to you with some kind of intense energy, like, all right, hey, there's like food over here, like come get your like medal, this and that, like trying to kind of coordinate a few things. And I felt like you were really having a moment that I was interrupting. Like, I don't know if it was, I don't know if you can chalk it up to being emotional or just the physical feat you just accomplished, or your what you just endured. But it was kind of funny to, I look back on that moment of like, probably should have just given you a few more minutes to like compose yourself and like just soak it all in, instead of me being like, so the car's over here, we're gonna go get some snacks. And
Well, I don't know, man. I think that life is unplanned, and there really aren't movie moments, but that was just the way it happened, and I was happy to see you, and it was funny too. I think we met some guy there who's probably listening to the episode, and he had run his first half marathon. So we got a little bit of audio with him, which we can play here.
Donated the bib to me because he couldn't make it. When I signed up, because I've never even ran a 10K until 6 weeks ago.
We do a podcast. So what's your name, man?
Cartwright, Chris.
This is your first half?
First half ever.
Was it great?
It was great. Tomorrow's my 45th birthday, so this is my midlife crisis.
Wow. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
I promised the guy I'd send him a photo from the finish line
Right.
because he couldn't make it because of an injury, so he gave me a bib to try this.
Yeah, man. And yeah, he was just a nice guy. I think
This guy was insane.
Yeah, he was wild. If you're listening, man, congratulations, bro. But yeah, he was telling us. I don't know if it was on the call or on the record, but he was telling us that
He told us that he had climbed Half Dome the day before.
Right,
and
that's what it was.
Anybody that's climbed Half Dome, you know how crazy that's something people do. Like that in itself is a feat of endurance. And so he said that he had done a 21-mile hike culminating at the top of Half Dome, and then the following day ran this half marathon. And so he was just completely out of it. And
yes,
but he was like so proud that he had done it. And he said that he was with his friends who were badasses and Ironmen and all this. So he had to show them up. But he was telling us like, oh yeah, just go up there. Like, even if you don't have the permits, just go up there, take some harness stuff with you. If you guys are into climbing, like, you're going to love it. And I remember thinking like, there's no fucking way. I'm not in any shape to like go climb like to 7,000 or 8,000 feet or whatever.
I couldn't walk up 5 stairs after the race, let alone go to a fucking Half Dome.
Yeah. I mean, he said he was from Indiana, so I can get that. If it's your first time visiting California, first time at Yosemite, just, you're probably just high off adrenaline, just wanting to experience as much as you can. But we were in no place to do any kind of like hike or anything like that. I remember telling Tamara that I thought, oh yeah, like it's gonna be great. Like, we're gonna go into the park after, we can do all these hikes. And then those dreams just immediately vanished as soon as I like laid down on the tarp next to the gear pickup. I was like, there's no way I'm covering any miles right now.
I know.
I was spent.
Yeah, I definitely have to say, for anybody who plans on just kind of running a half, if you're not training, you will be able to do it, but you will feel you won't have the fitness for the recovery aspect of it. That'll take some time, because my recovery has definitely been like long. When I'm in a solid marathon training program or whatnot, like I can just handle the high mileage because I have the strength in my legs and can kind of recover, and there's a shakeout run following everything, and it just works out. But this was really cool that I could do it, but it was also, it was a lesson to me that like, the next 5 days I'm going to be kind of hobbling around a little bit more than I would if I was training for something. Yeah,
I think maybe if I'd done some more speed work, I think that could have helped.
Right.
I think that's a really common refrain is like, oh yeah, I should have done more speed work. But yeah, I think my body, I'd only done a few days throughout the training block. And so I don't think my body was fully ready. My muscles were fully ready for the kind of, for keeping up that speed for that long. So, maybe that had to do with the cramping, but I think it'll be a while before I'm back, before I'm like thinking about doing a race at that pace again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was definitely super fun, but I probably would throw a couple more long runs if I wasn't in like a full training plan prior to doing that. But I still did it. I think all my leg workouts and the running that I did do, that was what was the most impressive. I was able to definitely complete it and finish it. And yeah, I can't recommend this race enough. It was very fun, very well taken care of. And if you're looking for something that's a bit, I will just say, yeah, there's good hospitality with it, then this is for you.
While we're talking about the races, I wanted to quickly hear you talk about the Joshua Tree half that they put on, because you had done that one before, and that one's at night. And so I've been curious how it is to run a night race in the desert.
Yeah, that race was really interesting. I went out there. It was one of those things where a lot of people said they were going to do it, and then a lot of people dropped off. I think Vacation Races at the time, this was maybe back in 2018, they kind of were doing a big push on socials. So they were like, there were these kind of, I'm jokingly calling them this, but they're not. They're these like, influencer style fire festival videos that kind of show how the race is going to go, and really makes it look like you're running through Joshua Tree proper. But when we got out there, we were in 29 Palms. You meet up at the drive-in movie theater that's out there. It's very cool, very funky. That race is hard, though. There was a good amount of incline, and it was flat primarily for the rest of it. Like, I believe the first 4 miles were incline. You're going up some big hills. And it isn't really, if you've been to Joshua Tree, it's like you're running, you're in Mars. This was more like you're again on the back roads of Pioneer Town or Joshua Tree. You're just on long fire roads. You got to wear a headlamp. And it is still very fun. I like the time of year that one takes place. It's in October, maybe early November. So it's kind of like pre-holiday season. So it's got this like very whimsical holiday feel to it. But, you're really getting more of the energy of the desert and not so much the energy of Joshua Tree. Again, it's fun running with a headlamp on, but that, again, is also a pretty easy race. I think that Yosemite was more interesting visually if you're kind of wanting that trail run feel. I think Joshua Tree's more, if you want to try a night run. Visually the best part of that race was the beginning when it goes from night to dark, because you just got this awesome sunset out in the desert, and I have some great photos from that. But yeah, I'd be curious. It seems like there are some real diehard Vacation Races fans, though. Geez, it's like they're like cult followers. We could get some of those for NNR.
Yeah. I think they do like, they have ultras, they do gravel bike races. But yeah, I think you get like a bonus medal if you do so many in a year. But I think it's a really funny idea to pitch a race at night, like especially a national, like the way that they do it, saying it's kind of branding it in the national park, but then doing it at night so you can't see shit. So they're like, yeah, you're in Joshua Tree, trust us. And the whole time you can't see shit, just running around the desert. Like, I ran around Joshua Tree.
Yeah. Well, if you're from Indiana, maybe you'd think you're in Joshua Tree. Man, I think that they do a fine job. I'm actually curious to see what other races they have. But I am Mark, I want to thank you for taking us into Yosemite, and just say real quick that just a sidebar, because we could probably do a whole episode on Yosemite, but Yosemite's gorgeous. It's definitely a place that if you live in the area, go this weekend. It's just that pretty that you should visit and go there. So I just want to say thank you for that, because it was just really magical. And you have coming up, Mark, you're getting ready for a 50K. And so how are you feeling? How far out are you? I think we're going to be probably talking about this a good amount as that we're getting closer to a race weekend for you.
Yeah, so we're about a month out from that, and it's called Shadow of the Giants 50K. It's actually going to be right in the same area, in the same vicinity. So I think we may even end up running on some of the same roads. So this was kind of a nice, just like a nice training run for that. But yeah, that's going to be a totally different race for me. Like I said, I think that one, it's going to be the longest that I've ever attempted before. So for that one, I'm mainly focusing on just finishing, and I'll definitely will be like carrying the vest, carrying way more nutrition, probably maybe even have some poles. They haven't been able to find anything on the course yet. So I am curious to know like how much climbing there is. I know, I mean, you're going to be up at elevation, and I've done some other runs up there, and it's tough for me. You know, it's tough to do. Climb 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 feet at that elevation. So, you know, I'm thinking of it, you know, as I'm just going to kind of focus on like power hiking. Like you said, I want to do some do some more strength stuff in the next few weeks, and then maybe just do like long runs on the weekend. Actually, one of my favorite places to run that I recently discovered is kind of on fire right now, which is really bizarre, but and sad. Yeah, there's this canyon that I've gone down in Orange County. I've gone to a couple times. It's a beautiful area. I mean, that I never experienced. So I was doing a lot of kind of trail runs there to get ready for this one, and there are some homes that overlook the canyon, and yeah, there's a big fire going on right now. So it's super sad, and it's just kind of a surreal thing to, you know, just kind of be, you know, to find this area, to kind of have this connection to it through running, and then to kind of see it on fire. So yeah, it's definitely sad to see some of the coverage coming out of there, and
I'm sorry,
you know, it's probably a result of, you know, all the high winds and the dryness that we've been dealing with. But anyway, yeah, that's a big digression, but yeah.
Well, it's true. There's a truth to what's going on. You know, it's like a lot of these environments that we like to go run around in, you know, they get affected by all of this, and so we really have to take care of them and be mindful of that. And, you know, it's, we're in California, and, you know, it's fire season year round out here. So, you know, I think there's one down in, where are you talking? Yeah. They're kind of always popping up. So,
yeah, I've been reading about some of the
Laguna, right? Laguna Niguel.
Bigger, yeah, that one. And, you know, I'm reading about some of the big, endurance runs, like Western States, right, up in Northern California, like reading about, you know, how much the temperature, I mean, a big factor of that race, right, is the heat. Like there's certain sections on that run where the temperature goes up to 100. And so just, yeah, trying to imagine doing some of these runs. I mean, when they were started, I mean, that one, I guess, is the oldest 100-miler, but I mean, that was started in the 70s. And so you think, wow, it's just, temperatures just have gone up and up and up since then. So yeah, it does kind of, like you said, it gives you another way of connecting to this existential threat that we're all feeling, and that we're all kind of going to have to deal with one way or the other.
Yeah, you know, if you think about the way in the world we live in now, there's so much extra stuff that's involved in it that wasn't around in the 70s and the 60s, and that's just the truth. You know, and so, you know, and in 2022, we're just dealing with so much more environmental stuff. You know, that's just a part of population growth, and that's just a part of existence. And we're going to really have to be clever and think about these things as we move forward. And races are part of that. You know, you have to think about what you're getting involved in, you know. And I'm sure on a lighter note, someone's always going to be pushing the envelope, and the person will probably be a runner, you know, during these extreme environments. You know, as you're talking about, there's so many of these races out there that are just so challenging on the system. But, you know, I'm excited for you, man. You know, that's going to be a really cool race. And again, like I want to do a 50K once or twice in my lifetime, but I just, you know, I'm excited to get to where you're going to be. But elevation's tough.
Yeah. I mean, I've done some, like I was saying, I've done some training runs up there, and so I'm trying my best to be prepared, but you know, we'll see. I do, my dream for you and I though, is to do the Salton Sea run. It's like I think it's what's the name of the company that puts on Badwater? I think it's Badwater, isn't it? It's just Badwater. But yeah, they have a Salton Sea race, and it's a group race. You have to do it with, I think you have to do it with at least one person. I think they allow groups of 3, maybe 4, but man, I would love to do I mean, I don't think I'm ready for 80 yet, but one day I would love to do that race with you where, it just seems like such a psycho thing.
Yeah, I'm cashing out all my chips in life. I don't really need any more wild trips to Las Vegas or big party weekends in New York or Chicago. Sign me up for like a crazy endurance race and I'll mess my body up that way.
Yeah.
Well, I think this was great. I'm glad, this is a fun one for us to just kind of talk about one thing. And I think we're going to do more of these moving forward. It's really great getting guests, but we also don't want to force guests. And we really want to get some interesting people for you to listen to. But this is going to be fun. We'll get maybe a few other, good homies in on the NNR pod to talk about some stuff. But Mark, man, this was a lot of fun today.
Yeah, no, it was great to do the race with you, and also just to be up in that town. They seem to have a lot of pride in the great outdoors and your dad, and so it was cool to, just get to see it through your eyes.
Well, I'm telling you, man, if they ever wanted to do a reboot, I heard Dan Aykroyd talking about it. I really, I normally don't do this kind of stuff, but, I got it. It's you and me, and we're training for Shadow of the Giants.
Yeah.
The comedy writes itself, man.
Yeah. And there's just a bear chasing it. We're leaving little gel wrappers, and there's a grizzly bear that's just trailing us, licking our gels.
Hey, you know what? I think people would go see it. So maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they'd say we're crazy. Let's get you guys back to your daily lives. But thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Never Not Run Pod.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
See ya.